I am Noelle Hipke, and today I'm very excited to have a best-selling author from Brazil with me to speak about her experiences and her knowledge and wisdom. Her name is Heloisa Prieto. She has now written 95 books, I just discovered, and counting. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She holds main awards of Brazilian literature and has had several works adapted for theater, cinema, and television. Not one, not two, but three. And she has a PhD in literary theory with a master in communication and semiotics. So semiotics is symbolism communication, which is so phenomenal. I love this because I talk about it in my book that she read. So there's such a commonality here. The whole world is connected through symbolism. In addition, she translates all kinds of literature collections. And we're going to talk about that. That's pretty amazing too. She's also a teacher of literary creation workshops in different institutions, capturing all types of voices with touching dialogues and first-person narrators. So that's a pretty impressive background. I'm dying to talk to you more because just this isn't your average person doing the norm. And there's a lot of people out there that are coming to us authors and asking for advice and how to get there. So very excited. Welcome, Heloisa.
Hello, I'm so happy. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course,
I love your book, love your writing.
Yes.
So it's such a pleasure, to be here.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Heloisa is actually, she's been put in the cover towards the cover of front of my book of her recommendation for reading my book. She was one of the first few people who got it. And I loved connecting with her and hearing her words coming back at me. So they ended up in the book. So it's very exciting. We're all getting connected. So tell me, what got you started in becoming to be an author?
First, I just realized this year when I published The Musician that I started writing in English first, because when I was 16 years old, I came to Michigan, Constantine High, for my junior year in high school, And in Brazil, my school was very strict. And I was mostly reading the Bible and writing about the Bible, And also there was just dictatorship going on, so we couldn't actually read much literature. And it was forbidden, it was very tense. And then my mother sent me to the States to study, And this is where I learned Shakespeare for the first time. I couldn't speak English, and I had to be part of an adaptation of Macbeth in the school. And teachers were very nice to me. So I also got in touch with Robert Frost. I loved him, Carl Sandsburg, and Emily Dickinson. And then there was a wonderful teacher, and she asked everybody to write a short story. So my first short story was about a magical bird in Brazil, and people loved it. She loved it so much, she came up to me and she says, "Did you copy that? How could you make it up? This is so sophisticated." But it wasn't. It was oral narrative. I was raised in the countryside, so I heard stories all through my childhood. It was easy for me. Once I started writing English, it was easy for me to do that. Anyway, when I came back to Brazil, I didn't think I could be a writer. I was very shy, so I started translating. My first job, very early in life, was interpreting and translating. And I translated Robert Louis Stevenson, Stevenson, Joseph Conrad, classical literature first. And 10 years later, I was writing about children's literature. I was invited to write myths because I loved them. And so I was writing about elves and gnomes and fairies. And I decided to create a story of my own. And my publisher from Penguin, she said, "Why don't you start writing stories of your own now?" And I started. So it's been 95 books now.
95 books. And Do you believe in fairies and gnomes and elves?
Oh, yes, in the parallel universe, very much, you know.
Me
I
too, me
believe
too.
in,
And this is what I want
yeah,
our
of
viewers to
course I
understand.
do.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're really actually there, everyone. I want you to
Oh,
understand this.
yes, yes,
They're just in a
yes. I
different
think
frequency. Yeah, different dimension.
exactly, exactly. That's why I loved your book so much because I also believe in gates, you know. I've been all around. I've been working with shamans very much in the forest. Afro-Brazilian people also, they have this wonderful mythology, which I love. And I feel like, and they're angels, some traditions. And I think there are gates, you know, that you tap into some gates sometimes.
Yes, the gateways, the stargates.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and this is what I love about writers and creatives. We're all operating on unique, different frequencies. It's almost like you ebb and flow in and out, high and low. It, expanding, contracting, because you can't stay at one level. You have to move
Yeah.
through it. So I love that we're both on the same page with that. And it's funny because when I started doing more research on you, I saw you were writing very similar in perspective wise, but totally different concepts in a way. And I have to ask you because you have how many books and how many different languages now?
Well, 95 books this week because this is my latest one. It's my PhD research. It's called Do You Want to Hear a Story? And it tells about indigenous people and how they deal with storytelling, you know, and Afro-Brazilian traditions as well, and the importance of myth. And of course, I talk about Joseph Campbell as well, you know, and he because I studied and loved him very much. So it's I try to combine my research um, with actual writing and storytelling and things. That's the latest one. And but I don't really have published books for teachers or adults. I'd rather write for young kids, all ages, and I have several books for young adults as well. I love writing for young people. I think it's wonderful.
Right. And then how many languages do you have your books
Oh, I
in?
forgot. Yeah, I'm sorry. Um, I can speak English, French. I translate from Spanish because my Prietto comes from Spain. My family came from Andalusia in Spain. I try to learn Japanese because I really want. There is this Japanese district in São Paulo where I live, and I love it. But I was too old that I couldn't. But I can understand a little bit.
That's amazing. You definitely are dancing in a lot of realms to be able to speak that many languages. And you're translating the books over, right? That's what you're doing, right? You translate them.
Yeah.
Okay, that you're a great contact to have. Especially if you want my book in Portuguese. Can you do it?
Yeah, yeah, I'll try to because I love your
Oh,
book. So I think I'm going to show it to some publishers I know,
thank
because
you.
it's so fluent. And I
Oh,
couldn't stop reading. And there's something magical when I read your book because I was in a tense week, because politics in Brazil sometimes make me very tense. And I started reading and I was relaxing, but not in a superficial way, like my soul was getting lighter. And I realized this is just something I have to go through, it will be better, give me hope. It was wonderful.
thank you so much. I appreciate that. Very honored that you felt, a
Yeah,
transformation kind of occurring.
yeah,
And
yeah, I
that's,
did.
that's the
There
whole point.
was, yeah,
Yeah. And it's funny because and actually I'll just hold it up for a second here so y'all can see it here. The cover I feel like is alive. It is literally got frequency coming out. It's got energy happening. So
yeah,
I think when people look at it, it's lighting up. There's something happening with the frequency of the book. There's energy behind the books, right? Like when you design or
yeah, oh
pick a
yeah.
cover. Yeah, tell me about how you pick a cover and why you choose a cover. How does that go
Well,
about for you?
first of all, I would like to say I was very honored to be invited by John Kohler and Greg Fields, to work and publish The Musician. And the cover was amazing. This is my cover now.
I love your
And
cover.
I love it. People love it in Brazil as well. And it was made by Danielle color. And when they put that, which cover would you like, system for people to choose, young people in Brazil just went crazy. They had so many votes, they couldn't believe it. It was people
Really?
just kept on voting, voting, voting. Yeah, it was a phenomenon. They wanted
Oh,
this cover, which I really, really appreciate and love it.
it's
And
whimsical.
I also, yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
actually, Hiloisa and I met through our publisher. So that's how we connected. And so these two books that we're showing you were edited and guided by Kohler Publishing, John Kohler. And we've had great experiences with him. And she's
Yeah.
done so many books. I want to ask you more about that actually. Now, when you do your books, doing 95 books, are you self-publishing or are you always working with some type of publisher?
I've never self published, I've always been invited. You see, my first invitation was from a very Companhia das Letras, today's Penguin. It was my first experience. And then I had, in Brazil, we have several large publishers, sometimes blending with Spanish publishing, And I kept on having invitations. This is a pattern in my life, Noelle. People ask me stories, ask me things. It's so weird because I'm kind of reserved and shy in a way. And I was asked to do my first book, which is Elves and Gnomes for children. I was asked to do my first novel, which was Lenore, Gothic novel, and the movie also came. It keeps on going. But the first time I wrote to young adult came from an experience of mine. I was driving my car. São Paulo is a very dangerous city, and I kept it very warm. At the same time, I had my window down, and this little boy comes, knocks at my window, and he says, "Be careful." And I saw his cute little face, in the mirror. I tried to talk to him. He had vanished, and all his friends, they robbed everyone except me in that line. They were they
Wow.
had weapons and things, and I never understood why he spared me. Never. So I was very touched. Went back, to the same place several times. Could never see him again. I realized he could be dead. So I looked for people who were working with vulnerable kids, and I decided to turn that kid into a character. So I read a little bit about Basquiat's life, and I mixed. So I made this little boy in São Paulo who can paint, who's very talented, but he helps people so they don't get robbed on the streets. And I asked kids, vulnerable kids, to draw, the stories, and they made amazing drawings. And I offered. That was another pattern. I tried to offer the book to several publishers. They were afraid; they wouldn't publish. And then a tiny little one accepted, made a very beautiful job. And then I was very happy with the book. And now, second problem, private schools from upper classes in Brazil forbade the book. They didn't want a book. Why? Because in the story there are two boys. They become friends. One is from upper middle class in Brazil, and he loses his mother. He cannot deal with grief, and he becomes friend with Sebas, the Basquiat character, who is very courageous, lost father and mother, and he can handle everything. So this connection helps both, and they were against friendship between kids from different social classes.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was so upset, because I thought, well, this is, let's say I was trying to do my Oliver Twist. This is at the point, my best written book, etc. But then something happened. You see, about the energy of the book, it came in the hands of Gilberto de Menstein, he has passed, a journalist working for social rights, very active, an activist. And he invited me to his newspaper where he was working. He was a director in São Paulo's Latin America largest newspaper, and he says, "I think we are on the same page. Let's work together." So we wrote 9 books together, and 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 the books, Warner Brother loved the story, and so it became a movie called Mano,
Wow.
and the movie 2010 won the best story for young people in Spain,
Love it.
and was the second.
Congratulations.
Uh, yeah, crazy story. It happens
That
to
is
be all the
fabulous.
time, things like that.
Okay. Wow. Okay, I have another couple questions on this. How long does it usually take your book from completion on your end to get published? Because it took a long time for mine. It was over a year by the time it came out after I completed it. What has been your quickest process that you'd say to turn it out and around and into someone's hands?
Well, the quickest process was crazy book I decided to write about my great grandmother, a great aunt. She took me to cemeteries when I was little. She loved them. And she used to say, "This is the city of the lying ones. This is so silent. This is beautiful." And she became friends with people, so she knew all the gossips, the widows and things. And I decided to write that story. And my father was very upset. He said, "You have an aunt. She's so crazy. Why did you write her story and things?" But I found a publisher. He loved it so much. It became a book. He published it in like 6 months. It's for children, it was illustrated. And it won the most renowned prize in Brazil, Jabuti Prize. But that was an exception. I wrote it 2 nights because I was
You wrote it
thinking
in two
about
nights?
her, and it was 2 nights.
Wow.
I couldn't
Okay,
stop
I
writing.
have.
It was weird. It was
That's what
kind
I was
of
going to ask you.
channeling.
That is like such a big question too. I literally wrote this down. Like, what happens to you when in your head and your body when you go into like this writer mode? I want to know what you feel. What happens to you?
I think my characters start speaking for themselves, usually. Like I have this starting point, and I start seeing them, like, and then they get a life of their own. In the beginning, I think of, sometimes I don't really have blockages because when I sit down and write, I let them just go around. And I hear voices mostly because I grew up
Mhm.
with voices before I started reading. I love listening. And I think what I really master is the voice, the dialogue. And so I hear them telling. And then I have to, what I'm learning now, what I learned from that group where I work with Greg Fields. He belongs to from Kohler. He's an amazing writer, and I met him in a group of writers from Ireland. And I learned from Irish writers how to describe things, feelings, perceptions, because otherwise I just write dialogues. I hear voices.
Do you see them performing kind of in front of you or beside you? Like in another realm, like they're almost.
Yes, yeah, I
I
do. In
love
my
that.
mind's eye, I do. I do.
Yes,
I do.
yes. That's whew, I love that. That's I can believe that. I
But
think we all have that.
I feel I don't like finishing a book, in fact, because then it's over. The journey is over.
I get
And
that. I get that.
yeah,
In fact, I've now written two other books since I wrote this first book. And I didn't plan to do it. It just happened, kind of like
oh
what
yeah,
you did, your experience. It was over the holidays at, a few months later. And all of a sudden I get this funny feeling and I'm like, oh, I need paper and a pen. And it
oh
just
yeah.
starts coming out. And so when I went to bed, I will never forget this. It was Christmas Eve and I was alone, which was really unusual. And I went to bed with a pen or a notepad and a flashlight. And I kept waking up in the middle of the night writing with the flashlight. I barely slept, but I was just channeling so much information was coming down. And maybe it was because you're alone on Christmas Eve, Noelle. Let's give you some information. And I could hear the angels singing on the other side. All this amazing, incredible things were happening. So I'm glad you get that experience too.
Oh
It's a
yes, just
wonderful.
download situation, right? But what
Download
I've been,
mode.
yeah, in download, I've been practicing meditation for a few years because it helps me. So I don't really write and erase, I kind of I practice meditation every other day, and then when I finally I think about the story in the sense that I try to visualize and listen to my characters, and then when I finally sit and write, they just come out immediately. I don't really write and rewrite. I don't have that process at all.
Agreed. Agreed. Yes. And that's when because you're connected to your higher self. That's what that meditation is
Yeah,
doing. So when people
yeah,
say they have, you know, writer's block, which I don't believe there's such a thing. I say, don't even ever say that. I hate to say it actually, but it's only because you're not connected to your higher self at that moment in
yeah.
time, and you can't,
Exactly.
it's like
That's
a
what I
switch.
think
Yeah.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that,
So whenever I feel some blockage, I try to take care of my soul, in the sense that I meditate, I practice. My daughter is a teacher, yoga teacher, so I practice every other day, but I also practice some Tai Chi movements. And then finally, but when I'm really stressed out, I go and see my shaman, my Guarani shaman. He's called
uh-huh.
Vera, and it's just amazing.
So
Just,
you're working with energy. We're working with energy is what's happening. When you're
yeah,
doing
yeah,
your yoga and your tai chi, you literally flowing and moving it through your body to you. It's like universal connection. So
yeah. And then scenes and dialogues come back again, to me.
yes, more knowledge, more information. And sometimes I'll have a pen and paper by where I'm doing yoga because I'll have tidbits come in because you're clearing
Yeah,
and connecting and opening all of your chakras and meridians and yeah, the gateways, the internal gateways, basically, right?
exactly.
So great. Okay. So 2 days was your record for writing a book, the shortest span. Okay, that's
Well, it's a
amazing.
short
And then,
story, it's
right.
yeah, it's a short story.
Yeah.
But
Okay. How about the longest book? What took you for
yeah, the
that?
longest book I was thinking about it 7 years.
7 years?
7 years.
Wow. Okay. So I want the people who are watching this to understand you might have done that yourself because I honestly tried to write my book 4 times over a 30-year period. And I totally wrote about something different than I probably ever would have. Well, maybe not actually. I wanted to write on women's wisdom older than me. And now it's 30 years older and it's my wisdom. So I guess I just took the knowledge and carried it through. But if you've got that book inside of you, it's there for a reason. You are meant
Yeah,
to get it out. You are meant to share your story with the world. I mean, your mess could really be your message because some of us are, that's where we're learning the beautiful things, the tidbits, the lessons, all of that is coming through, especially when you write, you clear it, right?
exactly.
Let's see.
That book,
Do
I
you
had a love and hate relationship with the main character, you know, and it took me a long time to deal
oh,
with
the
that.
the 7-year book, is that what you're talking about, the one that
Yeah,
took 7 years?
I had an
Okay.
inner struggle with it. Yeah.
Oh, but then you finally got through it, plus you didn't want the book to end, right?
No, no. But anyway, it was a weird story because I wrote Leonora, the first one. It's a novel, and it's a triangle, a love triangle, and doing rock and roll times, and she's in love with this crazy guy, like a bit. I was Fleetwood Mac in a way. Anyway, she dies. They have a fight on stage, and they're playing on the beach, and there was no security, and she falls from the stage, and she's drowned. And then I thought he had. I just disappeared. He disappears in the sea. I thought maybe he had died. But the point is, my readers loved Ian, the character, the villain,
Okay.
very
Did
much.
you have this experience in real life ever?
Of almost drowning. Yes,
From
as a child.
dating musicians and having this kind of an experience? Is that something you had?
Oh, you mean with the fights between the musicians and
Yeah.
things? I love music very much, and I met some very famous musicians in Brazil, and one of them inspired the book. He was a friend, but it was there was so much conflict, and drug use, abuse, and things. And I kept on wondering, why do young rock stars die in our culture? So, I loved all of them. I was in the States. Janis was dead, and then Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison, I always loved. And then Nirvana again, over and over in
Right.
Brazil. It's the same situation. And then I went up to Amazon. This is some years ago, and I was working. I was giving a literary workshop. In fact, we were collecting the myths, and I learned so much from them because there's no competition at all. For instance, I asked, whoever finishes the story first will get an A. Could you please turn it in? Nobody turned it in. It was horrible. And then the chief comes, you must learn and wait for the slow ones. We think it's horrible if somebody turns the story first. We wait for everybody, you know. Anyway, I realized they could draw and sing and tell stories, all of them. It was art was embedded in their life. So when I came back, I knew how I could handle that, the story again. So that character, he starts helping young kids on the beach how to play, etc., and then he becomes somebody else. And in a way, he's connected to the main character in the musician, who's called Thomas,
Mm.
because Thomas is a bit like that. He's alone in town. He's very talented, but he's being exploited musically in the beginning, and he finally finds out that if he changes his focus by getting in touch with original people, as we say here, with the Guarani community, he will be able to understand what music is really all about. Where does it come from? What is it telling him? The flow. So that, let's say, sometimes a book is a seed for another book to develop, you know.
I love that. And as you were telling that story, it made me think of like a mythology transformation,
Yeah,
right? Going through so many different cycles and steps and experiences and then becoming somebody else. I feel like we all do that multiple times in our lifetime,
yeah,
right? We're not the same person we were yesterday because all
not
it
at
takes is
all.
that, right? We
Yeah,
research or have an experience each day that we're like, oh, okay, that changed me. Hopefully for the better, but not always. You got to learn the lesson
yeah,
and
but in Guarani's rights, they changed their names. I got a Guarani name for myself, I knew one. And that means that you have shifted to another place inside of you, I think.
or another dimension.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
For
yeah.
sure. Because there's times
Or
I
both.
can, can't you tell your body and your mind and your soul's like shifting or leveling up some days? Like I'm like, oh, something's happening. I feel it.
Me too.
Good, good. Yeah. So that could be all happening to you all. This is part of the ascension.
Exactly.
um, do you have any good tips to share with people about getting their books published? Just from all 95 experiences, you've got to have some good tips.
Well, I always tell my students or people I talk to never to trust their vision, you know, because this is something I really, really enjoyed in color books. They respected my vision. Everybody. They wouldn't tell me to change the ending. They were so respectful. In fact, I had never met a publisher so respectful as John and his team. Because in Brazil, with the social classes clash, there's so many fights. So all the time you find somebody who says, no, no, change your title, change your ending. This is not politically correct. Should be careful with that. And they interfere too much. I never allow them to because this is my vision. So sometimes, lately, I I just change the publisher. Well, you don't mind, I'll give it to somebody else. And then somebody else loves it and they get upset because I wouldn't change it sells well, in the sense of what I wanted. But you have to be faithful to your vision. I don't write thinking about, well, it's fashionable now to do young adult, for instance. It's fashionable now to do such and such. What's the trend? No, you are the trend maker. You are the path opener. This is this is my main uh, advice. Because when you get into the market, these things will arise. Maybe sometimes it takes a very long time to find your literary partner. So
Hmm.
be patient. It will get there. The book knows its way, I think. It finds its partner.
Yes, and they gave us several covers to choose from. We kind of give them a description of the covers that we want, the color schemes, the theme. We use words to describe how we want it to look. In fact, I had made my own covers because I I wanted I had a vision, and it's funny. So they gave me five choices. I don't know about you, but they gave me five choices. How many choices did they give you?
Yeah, just about five, I guess.
Uh huh.
But, you know, uh, the cover, there were two covers that really attracted my eyes. Well,
Mine too.
it was
And
easy.
literally, I felt it in my body when
Yeah.
the one came through. I knew it was the one. Like I just went whoosh. Oh, that's it. Did you feel that too at all?
Yeah, because you see, I was meaning to tell you, the musician was written during the pandemic times, and I had this friend, Esta Stone. He's a very, very skilled musician. He had been in Brazil, and I took him to the shaman. And so there's a chapter which is based upon his experience when he was playing with the Guarani people. Anyway, when the pandemic came, he called me and says, "Why don't we have Zoom meetings and write together?" Fact is, I wrote the book, and he's still hiding his books. He writes very well, but he's kind of shy, And
Hmm.
anyway, it's his time hasn't come yet to share, I guess. But I tell him to share. He has shared with me anyway. But then we had this weekly meetings for like almost a year, and then it was. And why am I telling? What's the connection with the cover? Because he plays in fountains many times.
What,
If
he
you will
plays
look
in fountains?
in front of fountains, especially in Italy, you will
Oh wow.
see, or Europe, all over. He likes to. He was a street musician, and he loved playing in near fountains. So this is how I got the inspiration, for the opening scene
Oh.
by seeing his videos, and also because when he was in Brazil, he gave a performance. I mean, he says a presentation, in fact, in a park, and it was open. And I was his translator. And when I saw people sitting around, I saw all kinds of people, little kids, old people, executives, teachers. I had never seen an audience like that before because whenever I speak to my readers, they're either kids, young people, or teachers, people who are interested in literature, but not him. All kinds of people you can imagine. So it inspired me, for the opening scene. And Danielle, she realizes that was how can I say, the source, of the story. It was very beautiful when she put in the cover.
See, a lot goes into a cover.
Yeah.
It's your whole story behind it. So always get that professionally done, I would say. Do not That's where you put some major
Oh yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. And editing, definitely editing. Those are your two top choices for
Oh yeah.
sure.
For
Hmm.
me,
Hmm.
English is when I'm not in Ireland, or I haven't been in the States for years, but I've been to Ireland several times. But the longest I stay in a Portuguese when people are speaking Portuguese all the time. Of course, it's hard for me, sometimes not to make any typos or mistakes. So editing was very important because English is my second language. And I was writing in Brazil. I was not writing back in Ireland. I believe that. I also book proofing, and details because sometimes when I download, I can miss some details. I skip little things. So having somebody else telling me, "Well, who's saying that?" You forgot your name. It was very important.
You speak my language so much. Is there anything your books are trying to teach people? I'm really curious. Like, what are you trying to teach them with your books? Because we all learn from those.
Well, the human values, basically, like friendship, love, but also about the invisible world.
Me too.
Because
We love that,
according
right?
to, I think it's very important. I think people who are able to sense and go in and out the invisible perception and sensibility, they have a better life, I believe, much
More.
richer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, more
inside,
fulfilling
I think.
because you're having
Yeah,
more
inner life.
experiences, right? Is that it? More experiences,
Also, they're
or
humble, because they know there's so much to learn. You see, arrogant people are usually very unhappy. And being arrogant is just not being aware that you know nothing at all.
Mhm.
When I was little, my great grandmother, she was a survivor from the Spanish flu. And she told me the most horrible stories about all her friends who died. Horrible, you know, very dark stories. But she told me at the same time, I survived. I knew I could survive, right? So I think survival, the stories of people who survive are also very meaningful to me. So most of my heroes, in a way, they go through very dark times and they're able to handle that.
Right? That's it's almost like they knew in their soul that they were going to push through no matter what,
Yeah,
right? That's pretty beautiful, actually. There's beauty in the pain.
yeah, they're just another type of soul in a way. I think they're all teachers from a very early period in life. I've been working with amazing kids because I taught in prisons as well, and shelters. After that boy rescued me, I couldn't stop going to places like that, and I still do. I still go. Besides
Good.
indigenous people and Afro-Brazilian ones, I also like working with vulnerable kids. And I've seen amazing souls, little souls, so resilient. And then sometimes you go to upper middle class in Sao Paulo, they're very wealthy people, because there's this concentration of money in Brazil.
Mhm.
And kids are bored, scrolling. They're
Mhm.
Yeah, and I had this horrible experience. I was teaching with Victor, who is a poet. I like to go and work with, for translations and also for workshops. And this kid comes out and he says, I want to write a beautiful poem for Hitler, like that. And of course, we stopped the whole thing and I started questioning him and Victor as well, etc. Why he wanted. He thought it was funny, he was very sensitive, knew nothing. I said, do you think you are protected because you have such a good car and a driver and a beautiful mansion? You know, you're not. Life happens, will happen to you. Human
And it's
condition is the
how
same.
we handle it every single day, I would say. It's I put this sticky note up that the world is psychologically messing with you every day. And it's our job to outmaneuver the chaos or
Yeah.
join in and write about it.
Or maybe you talk to your inner chaos as well, because the
Right, right.
problem is when the outside triggers, so much
Right?
fear. Yeah,
For sure. And
yeah.
that's where the message is like, oh, didn't learn that lesson again. Got to
Yeah,
get it right
exactly.
next time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've had one of those reminders this week, but it's good. It was not as painful because I recalled what I should have done better or differently. So I was like, I won't do it again. I swear I won't do it again.
yeah. Pain
Okay.
teaches a lot as well. I'm not saying in the sense of being masochist, but also respecting grief, giving yourself time for grief, sadness, because kids today, it's all up and up, and who likes you the best, and social media, etc. You never see space for grief in social media. You don't see somebody being buried or losing or crying. But this is very important for you to live through. It teaches you, I think.
Yes, we're comparing ourselves to social media in some pretty unrealistic standards, I would say, as well as
Yeah,
being programmed subconsciously and unconsciously through it, which is creating a lot of chaos on the mindset,
yeah,
and on our children's souls. I do write about this too because I think it's really
yeah,
important we're aware of it. Um, I'd rather have my child working in a program that they're creating and learning versus watching a bunch of videos of things that are not educational and telling them how to think, behave, and act and believe. So, uh, reading good books
yeah,
is a really huge key to help our kids grow and as well as ourselves. Some of the most educated people and informative people are the ones who've read thousands of books and they're just oozing knowledge and information. So, yeah. Is there like a big message you would love to share with the world? Because this is your opportunity to really put the message out of like what your message is that you think would be good.
I think maybe listen to life, listen to yourself, take your time, just listen because it tells you, if you have the eyes to see and you follow the instructions life is giving you, you go, but it takes courage because it's not common sense journey. So there will always be people saying, "Oh, you're crazy." I've heard I'm crazy all through my life since I was just little girl, talking by myself. So be yourself. It's just trust your instincts, your vision, and most of all, listen. Listen. Be
Right?
quiet inside.
Be
Listen.
yourself, love yourself, and listen to yourself, really, right?
Yeah.
Because it
Listen
gives us
to all around
messages.
you. I love listening. Sometimes, when I'm going to a bank, for instance, in Brazil, people talk all the time. They're very talkative and they tell their lives anywhere you see. So I love listening to people telling their lives and talking about stuff. Maybe I get a plane and sit because I have this acceptance. Many people tell me my life. It's very funny. I don't have to look for ideas or originality at all. It comes into my lap because I listen.
I would say that's a superpower is listening
Yeah,
because that's where you're downloading, right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Download and reload.
Yeah, many
Yeah.
levels, not only from meditation, but also being listening to people, listen to children, and adults. By the way, I love the chapter you speak about kids and social media. I agree completely. I really liked your book. I think it's a
Thank you.
comprehensive guide to everyday contemporary life.
Thank you. And I'm going to talk to you about putting it in Portuguese then, or whatever you
Yeah,
recommend. You know, you're the woman of knowledge on those fronts and knowing
I'll
where it would
try
probably.
to. I'll try to. Yeah,
That's
because
amazing. So
yeah,
mm,
I'll see
very
you.
well rounded. Very well rounded. Hmm. Is there anything you would want to share with the younger generations that you would like them to know? We're women of knowledge because we're more experienced, and I've always thought it was important that we share some type of tidbit with them that can help them excel and expand. What do you have for us?
I guess when I was a teenager, I don't know what boredom is. I don't think boredom exists at all. Boredom is for the blind. This is what I would like to share. If you look around, there's so much happening. If you get out from yourself, don't be afraid of losing your own self in the journey because this is what happens. Sometimes you wake up when you're young, at least this is a feeling I still get a lot. There's just emptiness. Who am I? It goes on, all over your life. And we are not no me, mine, just let the universe invade you in the good sense, inhabit you, let's say. Don't be afraid of not being. That's kind of philosophical, but I think it translates in a sense of some people are bored because they don't have triggers around. But I don't think it's boredom. I think it's fear of not
Mm.
getting in touch with your deeper self. And when you do, and you get in touch with the unknown, it's frightening, very frightening. When you lose control, very frightening as well. And there's no need for any stimulants or drugs or anything. It's natural. It comes, and you don't have to. How can I say? If you if you're too afraid of what life is bringing to you, don't numb yourself. Let the fear go through. Listen to the fear as well. Try not to numb yourself with whatever, um, wine, drugs, social media, anything. Emptiness is very important and brings you closer to yourself. Should be a pleasure
Well
feeling
said.
empty.
Love it. Love it. See, this is what we got to learn from. We all are teachers to each other, no matter what your age. Even my young daughter is teaching me still new
Oh,
things,
yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so it's pretty beautiful when we open up to hearing and experiencing versus judging and not accepting. So new earth is new mindset, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Hmm.
also, there is something else. My indigenous friends, my Guarani friends, they say the future is in ancestrality.
The future
It's
is astrology. Yes. Yes.
ancestrality, being the future is in the past, in a way.
Ha!
Yeah, that you mean like the indigenous people, people who don't need anything, people who are focused in nature, very strong. And they say the truth, the best future there is would be to connect both sides, both cultures, you know.
Which
And
is the present, right?
yeah, yeah, but listen to what the past tells you as well,
Right.
ancestrality, what is in your DNA,
That's
let's say,
right.
because much has been lost. They don't believe in the positivistic thinking that evolution, in the sense, superficial sense, that you get better and better. You go back and forth, and every time you go back, you rescue something that was lost. So, for instance, love for nature, connection with the trees was lost, but not for them. It's real.
Right. Right. And if you're sitting here watching and you're struggling, say financially, if you can just find to be happy with where you're at and what you have, that's the secret. And
Yeah, yeah,
right is not worrying about having more, getting more, acquiring more. It's about being content and
exactly.
grateful, right? Just to be
Yeah.
healthy is really a big deal, actually. To
In
have good
Brazil,
food.
that's true, so very true. In Brazil, sometimes we use the expression which says, rich people who are jealous of the poor ones. you know,
Oh, rich
it's,
people are jealous of the poor ones. That's
yeah,
pretty great, actually. And I always
because
say health trumps wealth, is what I say.
it's exactly because too much wealth is so isolating, us not having any money at all. Those are two polarities. You shouldn't be there. You should be sharing, community, everybody more or less on the same page. That's what you
Right?
see in a tribe.
And it was funny because I listened to a podcast the other night, and he was saying if you got $1,000 a day and you had to spend it all and it couldn't be on yourself, what would you do? And I was like imagining just throwing the money out the window as I drove or something, because you're like, I gotta get rid of it, I gotta get rid of it. But so it kind of puts you in an opposite panic mode. And then like, who could I give it to? Who could I see light up? Whose life could I change? Like it took a whole like energy and power on itself. I was all, wow, $30,000 spent. you know. So there's we all have our own relationship with money, and it's alternating all the time because actually money is energy. So
Energy, yes, but it shouldn't stop you from dreaming. in several layers of what the word dreaming means, making you sleepless, not being able to connect with yourself, and also giving up on the dreams, real dreams that you want in life. So many people give up, just
Yeah,
don't.
and daydreaming is
Yeah,
free.
exactly.
That's that's like guided imagery. You can create anything if you just use your third eye.
Yeah,
You project it out like like a projector to the universe. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to create. I mean, I would write a chapter and go into my living room and speak to an audience about it when I was writing my book. My third eye would just go and I could see everyone out. And as I spoke, I would see them rise up in the crowd one by one as they were ascending from the message. And it happened to you when you read the book, apparently, too.
yeah, and I think your book has a message, which I also loved. Don't be afraid of your superpowers, you know,
Yes.
isn't it?
Which I want to ask you, what do you think? What is your superpower?
I maybe my superpower is ability to let the power flow through me, being
Mm.
empty.
Universal energy flow is what I call that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not easy,
And
not easy at all. You need a certain mindset.
yeah, you have
To,
to release and surrender,
yeah,
let go to have the energy
trust
flow. Trust for sure. And
and
just keep letting it, what's the word? It's like almost like energetically recirculating through the body through it, you
and when
know?
it's starting to develop, like when you start to have the connection, it can be frightening. Don't be afraid. This is very exciting to just
Right?
yeah, like. And
Okay.
also, I don't think people should think they own things in terms of stories. Of course, we need to live using our copyrights. This is the way society is. And of course, I need my money to go on and write more stories, etc. But I think the stories come through me. You know, I never. I'm not. I don't like egos. Like I made that universe. This is I don't really think they inhabit you for a certain time. And if you don't honor that, if you don't respect that, they leave you.
Yeah, I think you're not going to get gifted the beautiful knowledge and information to channel through to write about if you're all ego,
Yeah,
right? You have to be letting it come in to move through you, and you have to be kind of worthy of it, I think, in some way.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Humble. hmm
exactly,
Humble to receive that message, because you have to move your ego out of the way to get the information and knowledge to come in and through, right?
exactly. That's what I believe.
hmm So if you could use your superpower to change anything in the world, what would it be?
Well, I share my friends, my Guarani friends' dream that I would like everybody to feel as if they were in a very well connected community with nature. You know, like I love Carmel. This is I've been there. It was a dream city for me. And I know they would love it as well if they could see it. They haven't been there, at least the ones I'm working with. But I believe that this communion between nature, we are nature. That's what they say. There's no separation between nature and human beings. Everybody is nature. So my dream would have I love nature, I love trees, I love the animals. I sometimes feel can connect with them very deeply. So I think this add how can I say this paradise connection with nature from should be that's my dream when people want to stop destroying and separation ends.
Oh, uh-huh. I hear you, feel you. It's funny because I had a meditation where I became a tree. I literally became a tree. And I was so happy because I was just steady, calm, peaceful, full of wisdom, connected to all of nature and all the other trees. And I was like on this mountaintop, and I just felt majestic and powerful. and didn't have to do anything but accept it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I went into a ride with my friends, and then I dreamt I was. It took me a while to understand what I was. I was walking and I was very little. I was running very fast, and grass was opening, in front of my paws. And then I looked at night and I could see through night. It was wonderful.
Hmm.
And then they told me because my shamanistic animal is a jaguar,
A jaguar.
and
Uh huh.
and I was embodying my guardian.
Oh.
Yeah, it was amazing. So to feel so connected to nature like that, being able to jump and see, I could never forget. Changed my perception afterwards.
Yeah, that's part of connecting more to nature is, put yourself and become that animal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If we imagine what it feels like, and even becoming low to the ground, the perspective
exactly.
that they see,
Exactly. This is what's, yeah, the
right?
feeling I
And then there's
got.
the sensory they
Yeah.
have.
And the speed, running very fast and having such a flexible body. It was really unusual, and it still remains inside of me.
Do you think you might have ever been a jaguar in a past life, or you want to do it in the next life?
Maybe I have been wanting this current life. I mean, you know, maybe there was this exchange. I was there, in the forest, and there were jaguars around.
It was almost like
So
you
maybe,
shape shifted, right?
yeah, yeah, more like that. Maybe that's the feeling I got. It
Right.
was
Ooh,
wonderful.
I love it.
Yeah,
That's what I feel like
such
you're
an
moving your
experience. Very
soul.
poetical.
Yeah, you're moving your soul like out of your body to give it experiencing other things. This is where we're all going, right? Ascension is being able to experience everything all at once, kind of. So
Yeah,
we're already doing it on many levels, and you're learning from us how to do it by us just talking about this. I would
yeah.
say, which is really exciting. So, what is the best way that people can find you and get a hold of you?
Well, I'm on social media, so Heloisa Prieto, Instagram, Facebook, you know, and I have a site, two sites. One it's bilingual with all my books, Eloisa dot eloisaprieto.com, and I have the musician site only with the book because there were many good interviews like ours, wonderful talk to you, and there were several meetings with people in the States who were wonderful. So they're all there, reviews, and also Guarani people playing songs, that's in the musician info.com. It's a
Okay.
web page with the book.
I love that. I'm going to ask you another silly question. I know we're kind of wrapping it here. Do you ever sell books out of your car? Like, do you carry them with you and sell them out of your car to people?
Could you please tell me again?
So
Am I?
I have a box of books in my
Oh,
car.
yeah, you have a box in the car.
Yeah, and so
Yeah,
when I
I've
meet
seen
people
it.
and start talking to them, they're like, "I want to buy your book." Do you do that too? I'm just curious.
No, I don't actually, because usually when I travel, I used to in the beginning of my career. We had boxes of books,
Uh-huh.
but I used to travel with a bookseller. She was my best friend. you know.
Oh,
Yeah. And so we travel all over the beaches when I was young, a long time ago, let's say, but it was very exciting. And she took the boxes and we sold them. And also I went up north once in Amazons and there were no books at all, nothing over there. There are no uh, book stands or shops. So we took several boxes with books, not only mine, but from lots of people. And some of them were sold, some of them were given, because we opened up a small library in a small town for the first time. The town did not have a library, but so we opened up. But the point is, the moment we spread the books all over this little place, people wanted to retribute by telling stories. And it was so sophisticated. Their Portuguese, so poetical. It was amazing. It was such an exchange. So I that's why I love listening as well. The voice is very important. Being written voice or spoken voice or the voice of the past, like my Guarani friends say.
Okay, now I'm sorry. Another question for you. I swear it'll be the last. Do
No,
you have
it's
right? Time's up. But your books on audio? Do you do audiobooks?
I do have some in Portuguese. I would
Okay.
love to have the musician in English. I would really do, have somebody reading it. There is a short video in my Instagram with a girl, an actress. She's reading the musician in English, but it's just a snippet. I would love to. Do you? Do you
I
have the
actually just
superpower
I just put my
in?
book on audio and I recorded it myself. I wanted it to be my voice and my frequency, and I'm having it edited right now. So yes, I there's a lot of people
Mm,
who just learn by listening and they are stuck in their car driving far
yeah, yeah,
places, or they just turn it on and they're cleaning or cooking. So I was like, well, I can still, it's just another modality of teaching. So yeah, I just curious, I think the audiobooks are definitely going to be more what people are going to gravitate to since they can do multi things at one time, I believe.
yeah.
So yes. So thank you all. I'm so appreciative
I'll
that
try
you
to
coordinated
see.
with me.
You know,
Let's hold up your book with the musician one more time so
thank
people can
you.
recognize the cover if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, I
The
want people to
musician.
remember that
Yeah,
cute,
of
cute
course.
cover.
Let me wait.
And
Here.
oh, so beautiful.
Yeah, just lovely.
Beautiful energy coming off that and her
And
whimsical, magical, musical energy that she's now just shared with you all. We've now uh, given you something called quantum entanglement, where we have projected our energy and knowledge and wisdom right through you to you. And hopefully, some of our goodness will rub off on you. All right. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, signing off.
thank you.